Hello again, my dear PWM viewers. I'm Yuri Bender, and I'd like to welcome you back to the FT studio in London for our last tea break video before Christmas. And we do have a very special guest in the studio today to celebrate the last episode of 2024. Joining me today is Alice Wang. When she worked at Quaero Capital managing Chinese and Asian equities, she was one of the youngest female fund managers in the city. These days, she manages tech stocks for legendary investor George Robinson and also works with another family office. Alice, welcome back to the FT studios.
Wonderful to be here, yeah.
Alice, you're something of an aficionado of tea, and which is very apt for our tea break feature, and Chinese tea in particular. Does every region have its own particularly famous tea?
Well, I think the one that is most interesting to this show is a type of tea called pu'er tea, which is an investment grade tea that actually, like wine, appreciates over time.
Investment grade tea. So we hear about investment grade bonds for fund managers.
Yeah.
But you're trading in, people trade in tea as well.
Yeah, people trade in tea, people invest in teas, and they're a very popular gift because people know exactly what they're worth when they get it.
I remember I once caused a bit of a stir in a Beijing basement cafe when I asked them for jasmine tea, which is obviously the Cantonese speciality, and that did not go down well.
Right, it's a blended tea, which is not, something that the Chinese really like or understand. They think that that's a kind of foreign phenomenon.
Right, so I have to be more careful when I'm up north.
You only go for the purebreds in China.
The purebred tea in China. I mean, China is very much on our agenda today, Alice, and we have a wonderful article from Philippe Bolopion, a portfolio manager at Taubam in Paris, a very interesting boutique fund manager. Philippe writes about how immediately after Donald Trump's election as US president, the state of Texas decided to divest all its portfolios from China. But he continues to write that no matter how much asset managers try to reduce positions in China, nearly every major US or European stock is hugely exposed to the Chinese economy. Is this something you're very conscious of as a fund manager?
It's like a fashion statement. Okay, we don't have China in our portfolios. It really is kind of the, soup du jour. And I think it's very interesting that, you have Elon Musk, who is so influential and so going to be so influential in Trump's government. And he would be the first to, admit that how much China has helped him and his business, right? He has this kind of poo-pooing of IP because he thinks that his business dominance is from production advantages or scale or, other kind of people advantages. And that's exactly the power or the muscle that China gives him, right? And so it's always a little bit of mental gymnastics when you talk about fashion statements and what reality is.
When we speak to the really big private banks, the UBS, Citi, HSBC, China is still top of their list of priorities for the long term. And I did an interview with the Singaporean bank. They're now trying to be more of an Asian regional bank, and they're trying to attract other people from other regions to invest in China and Asia, European investors and investors from the Middle East. Do you feel that's a sensible strategy for the Asian banks to draw in assets from other regions?
Well, they kind of have to, right? Because they have so many assets there. But as far as I understand, most of them are still, their clients want to be in the US, they want to have US stocks. The one of the greatest tragedies, I think, of China managers over the last 4 years were that they were all buying NVIDIA, And so you say on lip service, we want to invest in Asia, and of course Asia's underinvested, but, everyone's kind of too scared still.
A regular speaker at our event has been Ida Liu, global head of Citi Private Bank, obviously the US bank, big investments, as you say, in the Magnificent Seven. And my colleague Elisa interviewed Ida this week about the increasingly important role of women entrepreneurs who are approaching to 50% of global wealth, yet still make up only 20% of the clientele of the private banks. Why are large financial institutions so bad at dealing with women entrepreneurs?
I think there is a difference between targeting women and men, right? Because your traditional private wealth probably techniques, this is just my guess, is playing golf with them, going to clubs, going drinking with them, And actually, I don't want to make generalizations about women, but women have kind of different interests, And maybe they want to build trust over different kinds of things, over learning about different kind of aspects of the world, or, investing in wellness or health, or cultures that they care about, right? They might just have different kinds of interests that are not the forte of the existing kind of, regime.
Ida, she comes from a fashion design background before she was in banking, and you've been a portfolio manager for a while, but you're also an opera singer. You're involved in the Frieze Fair in New York. Do you think that some of the private banks are not realizing that the women clients have this broad range of interest?
Yeah, I mean, UBS has had this amazing, very successful collaboration with Art Basel for so many years, right? And I do think it's like, even when you look at the Chinese wealthy, or when they've made a certain amount of wealth, actually their interests naturally shift to culture and art. And I was at this amazing dinner in Oxford recently, and the guy next to me had run all these investments in Oxford. But you know what? He was also the chairman of the Oxford Leader Festival, right? So there's so much overlap between cultural and ultra high net worth interests, and it should just be merged better.
And Alice, you have such a broad range of activities on top of finance, and you're writing your book at the moment, soon to be published, and you've kindly shared the preview of me, and you're talking about the stresses of modern life and how AI and technology can be used to alleviate these and potentially create an ideal society. In one of our articles this week about investment themes about 2025, Nigel Green, he sees AI as the key transformative trend for portfolio managers. Do you feel that for family offices, there is too much emphasis on this magnificent seven that you talked about earlier, not enough on private markets maybe and how they interact with AI?
I think this is interesting because in the last, the COVID and this kind of volatility that the market has gone through, a lot of the, portfolio managers of funds were really disappointed with the ability of a lot of these hedge funds' so-called ability to short. And, what the thing is that once you've had a bull market for 10 years, all the people that were shorting for 10 years were, banging their heads over the walls and like doing 10 times as much work and not earning any money and then getting fired, right? So then why would you be surprised that then in a period of volatility, those strengths don't come out, right? And it's the same thing. It's like now we've had, a bunch of fund managers chasing Magnificent Seven and getting quite lazy from it. And so what is the kind of next bout of volatility to come? Maybe when we do have some skepticism about AI, maybe when some companies have overinvested in it and don't get the, return that they want. And then, where are all the doubters that were maybe doing value stocks or other kinds of styles of stocks? We can't actually, as fund of funds, blame these funds at the end of the day, because it's the short-termism of the industry, right? And so I think, but when we're talking about kind of near-term opportunities for AI, like you asked about, I would actually think that, the biggest failure is that it's really good at doing things abstractly, but it's not very good at the finishing touch. So it's almost unreliable at anything that needs that specialization, which is what professionals get paid for. And because of that, it's very hard to monetize at the moment. But it has already shown to disrupt many industries, like this company called Chegg, which is really struggling, this education company. And so maybe the near-term opportunities are actually around which things are going to die because of the investment in AI, and not because we have a very clear picture of where AI is going to benefit.
Alice, you've talked about a lot about the stresses, the challenges of portfolio management. All of these family offices, private bankers, Christmas is approaching, they all need to relax a bit. Where can they catch you performing some traditional Chinese opera in the near future?
Oh, right. Well, I have about a show every 2 months next year, but I am working on commissioning and bringing Asian art songs. And so, especially for China, because, we have this vacuum of production of art because of the Communist Party, because of 50 years of nationalistic art. I'd like to bring back Tang Dynasty songs combined with Western art song form. I'd like, we sing as an opera singer, we sing in Italian, Czech, Russian. Why can't we sing in Korean or Japanese? Why can't we bring some of these languages in? So I'm interested in both modernizing operatic form and also bringing in more Asian elements.
Well, we look forward to more of this elusive combination in our forthcoming chats with you, Alice. You're always welcome here in the FT studio. Ladies and gentlemen, sadly, that's all we have time for in the PWM Tea Break. Wishing you all a wonderful Christmas and festive season, and see you very shortly in 2025.